Released in 2003, Road Rage 3 for the PlayStation 2 marked a distinct entry in the arcade racing genre. Developed and distributed by Phoenix Games, the title drew mixed reactions from critics and players alike. Though it never reached the heights of contemporaries like Gran Turismo 4 or Need for Speed Underground, Road Rage 3 still offered an intriguing experience, especially for fans of drift-centered gameplay and arcade-style racing.
One of the most immediately noticeable aspects of Road Rage 3 is its user interface, UI. The design bears a striking resemblance to the Gran Turismo series, which is an ambitious decision given the latter's iconic status in the racing game world. The menu system in Road Rage 3 utilizes a clean and straightforward layout, dominated by sleek lines and a minimalist aesthetic.
In the main menu, players are greeted with options that echo the structure of Gran Turismo, such as Arcade Mode, Time Trial, and Carrera. The use of a similar blue and grey color scheme also adds to the familiarity. For players who are accustomed to navigating Gran Turismo's polished interface, Road Rage 3 felt like stepping into somewhat familiar territory.
However, while the UI may resemble Gran Turismo in appearance, the depth of the menu options is considerably less sophisticated. Where Gran Turismo offered extensive customization and car tuning options, Road Rage 3 simplifies these elements. This reduction in complexity, while making the game more accessible to casual players, may have disappointed those looking for a deeper, more involved experience akin to that offered by Polyphony Digital's celebrated series.
Drift-centered gameplay lies at the heart of Road Rage 3. The game distinguishes itself from other racing games of the era with its emphasis on drift mechanics, while Gran Turismo focused on realism and precision. Road Rage 3 embraced a more exaggerated, arcade-style approach to driving. Drifting in the game is not just a technique but a core component of gameplay. Races often revolve around maintaining the longest, most stylish drifts to earn points and gain advantages over opponents.
The drift mechanics in Road Rage 3 are designed to be approachable, allowing players to easily initiate and maintain drifts. Unlike more simulation-oriented games where drifting requires delicate balance and precise timing, Road Rage 3 encourages players to slide through corners with abandon, rewarding aggression and flair. The physics engine, though not as refined as those found in higher-budget titles, manages to strike a balance between arcade fun and enough realism to make the drifts satisfying.
Races are often set in a variety of urban environments, where tight corners and long winding roads provide ample opportunities to show off drifting prowess. The game's scoring system is heavily weighted towards rewarding stylish driving by handing out drift points, making Road Rage 3 a game where mastering the drift my dog is the key to progression. This focus on drift mechanics sets the game apart from many contemporaries, which either neglected the technique or relegated it to a minor role.
LOL real car brands. Indeed, a curious inclusion in a Phoenix Games release. One of the most surprising aspects of Road Rage 3 is its inclusion of real car brands, something not typically associated with games distributed by Phoenix. Phoenix Games was known for producing and distributing budget titles, often with lower production values and less licensing muscle compared to bigger publishers. However, Road Rage 3 managed to include a selection of licensed cars from real manufacturers, which added an unexpected layer of authenticity to the game. This inclusion of real car brands raises the question of how Atlus, a developer not particularly well known for its racing games, managed to secure such licenses. In Japan, Atlus's reputation as a respected developer could have made car manufacturers more open to collaborating, especially since the Touge series, despite being somewhat niche, was well regarded for its focus on Japanese car culture. Manufacturers may have seen the potential to appeal to a specific audience that was passionate about cars, particularly the kind of audience that would be interested in Touge racing. Touge racing is deeply embedded in Japanese car culture, and Atlus's focus on this niche likely played a significant role in acquiring car licenses. The Touge scene revolves around navigating mountain passes, requiring cars with specific performance characteristics. By accurately representing this subculture, Atlus may have attracted interest from car manufacturers keen on appealing to enthusiasts who would appreciate their car's inclusion in such a game. Car companies are often selective about the types of games they license their vehicles to, preferring those that depict their cars in a desirable light. Touge 3's focus on precise, skill-based racing, rather than destructive, arcade-style gameplay, likely helped Atlas secure the necessary permissions. The game's authenticity in representing the car's performance on challenging mountain roads would have aligned well with how manufacturers wanted their vehicles portrayed. The process of acquiring licenses for real-life car brands typically involves negotiations where the game developers present their vision for how the cars will be used and depicted. Atlas likely pitched Road Rage 3 as a game that would honor the performance and engineering of the included vehicles, emphasizing the game's focus on technical racing rather than stock car-style crashing or unrealistic driving scenarios. Given that Road Rage 3 was a Japanese game focused on Japanese cars, Atlas probably focused on domestic car manufacturers who were more likely to agree to licensing deals. Japan's car manufacturers, including giants like Nissan, Toyota, and Honda, might have seen the game as an opportunity to market their performance models to a younger, tech-savvy audience that was deeply embedded in the car culture.
It's also possible that the game's relatively obscure status and limited international release worked in Atlas's favor during negotiations. Licensing terms for an internationally released game might be stricter and more expensive because of the global exposure. However, Road Rage 3 was primarily marketed in Japan and never became a blockbuster hit worldwide. The limited scope of the game's release might have made it easier and less costly to secure licenses, as manufacturers might have been more lenient with a game they saw as a smaller-scale, domestic project. Phoenix Games' involvement in the international distribution of Road Rage 3 is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, their reputation for releasing budget titles meant that Road Rage 3 was accessible to a wider audience due to its lower price point. For casual gamers or those on a budget, this made the game an attractive option, particularly at a time when AAA titles were commanding premium prices. However, the association with Phoenix Games also carried a certain stigma. The company had a reputation for releasing shit. While Road Rage 3 is certainly more polished than some of Phoenix's other offerings, it still bears the marks of a game produced with a limited budget. The graphics, while serviceable, do not compare to the cutting-edge visuals seen in other racing games of the time. Similarly, the sound design, while competent, lacks the immersive quality found in higher-budget titles. Moreover, the inclusion of real car brands, while impressive, did not completely mask the limitations of the game. The physics engine, for instance, is less sophisticated than those found in contemporaries like Gran Turismo 4. Cars sometimes handle in ways that feel unpredictable or unrealistic, which can break the immersion for players seeking a more authentic driving experience.
In retrospect, Road Rage 3 is a curious entry in the PlayStation 2's vast library. It is a game that, while not without its flaws, still managed to carve out a niche for itself thanks to its unique focus on drifting and its surprising inclusion of real car brands. For those who can look past its budget title origins and somewhat dated presentation, there is fun to be had in mastering its drift mechanics and tearing through its urban landscapes.
However, Road Rage 3 never quite escaped the shadow of more polished and ambitious racing games. It remains a title that is largely remembered by those who picked it up in bargain bins, or as a curiosity rather than a must-play classic. Its user interface, reminiscent of Gran Turismo, serves as a reminder of the ambition behind the game, even if that ambition was not fully realized.
Ultimately, Road Rage 3 stands as a testament to what could be achieved with limited resources, a game that aimed high but fell short of the greatness it aspired to. For fans of arcade racers and drift-centric gameplay, it offers a slice of racing history that is worth revisiting, if only to see how a budget title with big dreams tried to make its mark on the PlayStation 2.